The hall was full, warm lights covered every seat, and people waited with soft smiles on their faces. It was Christmas week, and the air carried a peaceful feeling that made even strangers look at one another with kindness. KeanuReeves walked onto the stage with his simple smile, the same smile that made people feel safe without a single word. The crowd cheered, but something in his eyes showed he was not here for fame or noise. He carried a softness, an honesty that felt rare. He held the microphone gently, almost like he was afraid to disturb the peace of the moment. The first few questions were usual, light and cheerful, until one fan stood up and asked in a trembling voice, "Keanu, do you still think about Sandra on days like this?" And the entire hall fell silent in a single breath. It was the kind of silence that holds a whole story inside it. It was the kind of silence that makes people stop moving, stop breathing, because they know something meaningful is about to happen. Keanu looked at the fans slowly, no smile, no joke, just a long pause. Behind his calm face, something changed, something deep and emotional. He took a slow breath, placed his other hand over his chest, and the crowd leaned forward as if the whole world depended on the next words he would say. Everyone expected a normal celebrity answer, something scripted or safe. But what he said next was nothing like that. "Yes," he whispered, his voice softer than the falling snow outside. "Especially on Christmas." The hall reacted as if a warm wave moved through it. People were not just listening, they were feeling every beat of his heart. He continued speaking, his tone gentle, steady, filled with an honesty that made even the lights seem dimmer. "Christmas reminds me of people who touched my life with kindness," he said. "And Sandra, she was one of those people. She had this way of making a room brighter without trying. She always respected everyone, and she reminded me that gentle people are strong too." His voice shook a little, but not from weakness. It was the kind of shake that comes from remembering something too beautiful and too painful at the same time. The audience did not move. Even the camera operators forgot to blink. Keanu's words went deeper than a simple memory. They touched something human, something real. He was not talking about romantic rumors or Hollywood stories. He was talking about respect, about the rare comfort of having someone in your life who carries kindness in every step. He looked down for a moment, then raised his eyes again, and his expression was full of something that felt almost like gratitude. "And I think," he continued slowly, "that some people stay in your life even when they are far away, not because of calls or messages, but because they changed you in a way you can never forget. And Sandra, she is one of those people for me." The crowd exhaled softly, as if relieved and heartbroken at the same time. A few people wiped tears, and even the fan who asked the question stood frozen, unsure whether to smile or cry. Keanu then gave a small, gentle smile and said, "Christmas is about remembering the good people, and she will always be one of the good ones." The entire audience melted. The camera zoomed in on Keanu's face, and a soft warmth spread across the stage, as if his honesty had turned into light. No one expected such vulnerability. No one expected such truth. But that is exactly why the room felt different now. Keanu had opened a door inside himself, and everyone felt honored to be allowed to look inside. The moment Keanu finished speaking, the hall stayed silent, as if no one wanted to break the softness he had created. But inside that silence, something unexpected happened. Another fan, sitting near the front row, slowly raised her hand. Her voice trembled when she spoke. "Keanu, if she meant so much to you, why did you never tell her?" The question cut through the air like a quiet storm. The audience looked at her, then back at Keanu, waiting with wide eyes. It was the kind of question no one planned to ask, and yet it held a truth everyone wondered about. Keanu stood still for a moment. He looked like someone who was searching through memories he kept locked away for years. His eyes softened, and for the first time that evening he looked almost vulnerable. "I did tell her," he said, his voice low and honest. "But not in the way most people would expect. I never said the full words. Sometimes life gives you moments, but you do not always know how to hold them or how long they will last." The hall felt the weight of every word he spoke. The lights dimmed gently, as if the world understood the sadness inside him. He continued, "There were days I wanted to say everything. I wanted to tell her how much her kindness changed me, how much her laughter stayed in my mind long after we finished those films. But I thought maybe she already knew. Maybe she saw the way I looked at her when she wasn't watching." His voice cracked slightly, and a deep quiet spread over the audience. It was a quiet that carried years of unsaid feelings, the kind of feelings people carry silently, because they believe it is safer to protect the heart than to risk losing something precious. Then, in the middle of this emotional moment, a soft sound came from the back of the hall. Someone accidentally dropped their phone, and the small noise echoed strangely loud. Keanu looked up, smiled gently at the nervous person, and said, "It is okay. Life is full of little sounds that remind us we are human." The audience laughed lightly, but there was still a heavy emotion under their smiles. A fan in the middle row whispered, loud enough for others to hear, "But do you still wish you had said more?" The whisper traveled like a wave until Keanu heard it. He closed his eyes for a second, breathing in slowly. When he opened them, there was something deep, something raw, as if he had let down another layer of himself. "Yes," he said softly. "Sometimes I do. Sometimes the heart remembers the words you never said more than the words you did. And during Christmas, when everything feels peaceful and gentle, those unsaid words return. They sit quietly inside you, asking what life could have been like if you were brave a little earlier." The hall felt the truth of those words. Many people looked down, thinking about their own unsaid words, their own lost moments. It was not just Keanu's story anymore. It became everyone's story. But then he surprised everyone. He took another breath and added, "But I also believe that kindness does not end just because life moves in different directions. The respect we had for each other, it still lives, even if we never speak it out loud." His gentle smile returned, but there was a shine in his eyes that told everyone he had carried this truth for a long time. And just when the audience thought the moment was over, Keanu stepped closer to the front of the stage and said something that made the entire hall shift forward in disbelief. "Last Christmas, something happened, something I never told anyone." The room froze. He looked down at his hands, as if holding a memory too delicate to break. And with the softest voice, he began to reveal a secret that no one expected. The hall leaned forward as if the whole audience shared one breath. Keanu looked down for a long moment, his fingers gently touching the microphone, almost like he was gathering the courage to open a chapter he had kept closed for years. When he finally lifted his eyes, they carried a quiet pain, the kind that comes only from memories too precious and too fragile. "Last Christmas," he began slowly, "I got a message that I did not expect." The crowd froze, every camera light focused on him. Even the sound of someone breathing felt loud. Keanu continued, his voice steady but soft. "It was a message from someone close to Sandra, not her, but someone who knows her heart well." He paused again, letting the suspense fill the room. "They told me something she once said, something she never said to me directly." A wave of tension moved across the hall. People turned to each other, eyes wide, wondering what truth had been hidden all these years. Keanu's expression softened as he spoke again. "They said Sandra always believed I deserved happiness. And she told them that if life had placed us in a different time, a different season, maybe things would have been different for us." The entire audience gasped softly. A few hands covered mouths. The emotional shock was real, heavy, and tender. Keanu's eyes lowered again, and he gave a small, aching smile. "When I heard that, I sat alone for a long time. I did not know whether to smile or cry. It felt like a beautiful gift, but also a reminder of timing, of how life can be gentle and painful at the same time." He touched his chest lightly as he continued. "I never knew she felt that way, but hearing it, it made many things suddenly make sense. The quiet moments, the soft glances, the way she always encouraged me, even when she had nothing to gain. I realized then that some people walk beside you without walking next to you." The audience felt the weight of that line. It hit deep, because everyone had someone like that, someone who touched their life without staying in it. A young woman in the crowd whispered, tears in her eyes, "So did you ever tell her?" Keanu heard her. He gave a gentle nod. "I did not tell her everything," he said. "But last Christmas, I wrote a letter, a long one. I did not send it. I just wrote it. Maybe it was for her. Maybe it was for myself. Maybe it was for all the moments I carried silently." He gave a small laugh, the kind that hides sadness. "I wrote that I was grateful, grateful for her kindness, her friendship, her respect. I wrote that she taught me how to be gentle even when life is hard. I wrote that she made me believe in good people, and I thanked her for that." The room was silent, except for soft sniffles from different corners. No one expected this kind of vulnerability. "But," Keanu continued, "there is something I never told anyone. When I finished the letter, I placed it inside a small Christmas gift bag. I kept it on a shelf in my home. I did not know if I would ever give it to her." His eyes grew warm, reflective. "And then something happened on Christmas night. Something small, but it changed everything. I did not expect it. I was sitting alone and the doorbell rang. The audience gasped again. The suspense returned instantly. Keanu leaned slightly forward, his voice barely above a whisper. I opened the door, and what I saw has stayed in my heart ever since. The moment Keanu said the doorbell rang, the entire hall held its breath. It felt like time itself slowed down. Even the lights seemed to dim, as if the world wanted to listen more closely. Keanu looked at the audience with calm eyes, but inside those eyes lived a memory he had protected for a long time. I walked to the door slowly, he said softly. It was late. The streets were quiet, the kind of quiet you only hear on Christmas night when everything feels softer than usual. I thought maybe it was a neighbor or someone delivering something to the wrong address. The audience leaned closer, shoulders tensed with anticipation. But when I opened the door, Keanu continued, no one was standing there. Murmurs filled the hall again. People exchanged confused looks. Some held their breath. Keanu raised his hand gently, calming the room before the surprise. There was only a small box, he said. A simple box wrapped in silver paper with a tiny red ribbon, nothing fancy. But it had my name written in handwriting I knew too well. The entire hall froze. It was her handwriting, Keanu whispered with a soft, emotional smile. Sandra S. I knew it the second I saw it. People gasped, someone in the back whispered, no way, and the silence returned instantly. Keanu continued, I picked up the box and looked around, but the street was empty. The snow on the ground was untouched except for a single faint footprint near the steps. I do not know whose it was, I cannot say it was hers, but something in my heart felt different. It felt like the world was trying to tell me something. He took a slow breath, steady but full of emotion. I closed the door and sat on the floor with the small box in my hands. I did not open it right away. I just sat there, feeling something peaceful inside me, as if the moment itself wanted me to pause. The audience listened without blinking. When I finally opened it, he said, there was no expensive gift, nothing dramatic, just something simple, something she once told me years ago. He looked at the crowd with soft, shining eyes. It was a small snow globe. Inside it, two people standing near a frozen lake. The same snow globe she once bought during the filming of a movie we did. She told me then that snow globes were reminders of quiet moments that never leave you. The hall's emotion grew deeper. Many audience members wiped their tears quietly. Even from the stage, Keanu could see it. But there was something else, he added, his voice warming with meaning. A short note, only one sentence. The suspense returned instantly, pressing the air tight. Keanu closed his eyes for a moment as if remembering the feeling of reading that line for the first time. When he opened his eyes again, they glowed with softness and sadness. Her note said, some memories are meant to stay warm even in the coldest seasons. A quiet sob echoed from somewhere in the front row. Keanu placed his hand on his heart gently. I do not know if she placed that box herself. I do not know if someone delivered it for her. But I know one thing, she wanted me to remember something kind, something simple, something warm. She wanted me to carry peace, not regret. He looked down, breathing slowly. And that night, I held the snow globe in my hands for a long time, and I realized something. Sometimes the moments we never shared become the moments that teach us the most. The room felt heavier, softer, more emotional. And then Keanu said something that made the entire audience gasp again. But that was not all. Something else happened the next morning, something that shook me more than the gift. He paused. The hall went silent. I woke up to a message from her. The audience froze the moment Keanu said the message came from her. It felt like every heartbeat in the hall matched his silence. Even the air seemed to stop moving. Keanu looked down for a moment, gathering the memory carefully, as if he was afraid it would break if he spoke too fast. When he finally lifted his eyes, they were warm, filled with something gentle, and something painful too. The next morning, he began quietly, I woke up early. It was still dark outside. I made coffee and sat near the window. Snow was falling slowly, peacefully, and then my phone lit up. The crowd leaned forward as one body, waiting. It was a message from an old friend, Keanu continued. Someone close to Sandra, they said, she asked me to send you this today. The room gasped softly. Some people covered their mouths. Keanu paused, letting the moment breathe. I opened the message, he said, and it was a voice note. The sound of surprise moved across the hall like a wave. Keanu nodded slowly, remembering every detail. I sat still for a long time before pressing play. I think I was scared, not of the message itself, but of the feelings inside me. He gave a soft, sad smile. And when I finally listened, it wasn't long, it was only a few seconds, but it felt like the whole world stopped moving. He swallowed softly before continuing. In her voice, she sounded calm, gentle, just like always. She said, "If this reaches you, I hope you remember to take care of your heart, too." People exhaled in shock and emotion. Some wiped their tears without hiding it. Keanu closed his eyes briefly, letting the memory settle in his chest. She didn't explain anything. She didn't mention the snow globe. She didn't talk about the past. She didn't give any answer about the future. She just said that one line, and that was enough. His voice became a little heavier, softer. After listening, I didn't know what to do. I replayed it again and again, maybe 10 times, maybe more. Every time I heard her voice, it felt like she was reminding me of something simple and human, something I often forget when work and life move too fast. He looked out at the audience, his eyes shining with sincerity. She wanted me to take care of my heart, too. She didn't say be strong or be brave. She said something kinder, something real, something people rarely say to one another. The hall grew even quieter. People felt something deep inside themselves shift. I sat there for almost an hour, Keanu said, holding the snow globe in one hand and the phone in the other. The room felt warm even though it was cold outside. And then something happened that I didn't expect. He leaned a little closer to the microphone, and the audience instinctively leaned with him. I received another message. Gasps echoed again. Keanu nodded, his voice lowering with suspense. This one wasn't from her friend. It wasn't from someone close to her. It came from a number I didn't recognize, a number I had never seen before. The tension in the room deepened. He continued slowly. It was just one sentence. He took a breath. The message said, "She was thinking of you yesterday." The audience whispered, shocked and emotional. Some fans placed their hands on their hearts. Keanu looked down for a moment, then back at them with a soft, aching expression. I don't know who sent it. I don't know how they got my number. I don't know what it meant. But the timing, the snow globe, the voice note, the Christmas night, everything felt connected in a way I couldn't explain. He paused, his voice dropped to a whisper. And that is when I realized something was about to change. The audience held their breath again. Because that same day, someone asked me to meet them, and they told me it was about her. The hall was silent when Keanu said someone asked him to meet them. People leaned forward, their hearts already heavy with emotion. Keanu took a slow breath, and his voice softened even more, as if the memory still lived close to his heart. That same day, he began, I got a message from someone I hadn't heard from in years. It was a friend who had worked with both of us long ago. He asked if we could meet for a quiet talk. No cameras, no interviews, no noise. He said it was about her. I felt something move inside me. Fear, hope, confusion, everything at once. The audience stayed still, listening as though the story belonged to their own lives. We met at a small cafe in the afternoon, Keanu said gently. It was one of those places where the world feels slower. No music, no crowds, just the sound of cups and soft talk. When he walked in, he looked tired but kind. Keanu smiled sadly. He sat down, and for a moment he didn't say anything. He just looked at me like he was searching for the right words. And then he said, "She spoke about you." A ripple of emotions passed through the hall. I didn't know what to say, Keanu continued. I just waited. He told me that Sandra had talked about the people she kept close in her heart, people who made her life softer, kinder. And he said my name was one of the names she mentioned. Keanu's voice cracked slightly, but he kept speaking. He told me she always admired how I treated people, how I moved through the world with quiet respect. He said she believed that kindness was a strength, not a weakness, and he said she hoped I never forgot that. The hall melted. Several people wiped tears openly. Keanu nodded slowly. He said something else, too. He said she wanted me to know she always respected the person I tried to be, not the actor, not the public image, the person underneath, the one who stayed humble even when the world tried to make him something else. His eyes shined with a warm sadness. I asked him why he was telling me this now, Keanu said. And he said, because people should hear the good things while they are still alive. The hall fell completely silent. Keanu placed a hand on his chest, holding the emotion carefully. "That moment changed me," he said softly. "It made me understand that sometimes we carry feelings quietly because we think it is safer, but the truth is kindness should be spoken. Gratitude should be spoken, respect should be spoken, not tomorrow, not someday, but now." His voice grew warmer, gentler. "I didn't go to her. I didn't give her the letter I wrote. I didn't send anything back. Not because I didn't care, but because I felt her message had already given me peace. Her kindness reached me, even from a distance. And I realized the most beautiful relationships in life are not always the ones with clear endings or perfect timing. Sometimes they are the ones that simply remind us to be better." The audience felt those words deeply. "Christmas," Keanu continued, "is not about big gifts or noise. It is about remembering the hearts that helped us grow. People like her, people who treated us gently, people who reminded us to take care of our own hearts too." He smiled warmly, touched by memory. "So when you asked me today about Sandra," he said softly, "you were really asking me about kindness, about respect, about the moments that make life meaningful, and the truth is, I will always be grateful for her. She is one of the people who taught me how to walk through the world with softness." His final words felt like a warm blanket over the entire hall. Some people stay in your life not because of time, but because of the way they touched your heart. Keanu lowered the microphone, eyes gentle, and the crowd rose to their feet in soft, emotional applause.